campus life is like Young Life. It's parachurch ministry for middle school, high school students. And I got deeply involved in that. And out of that, just met a ton of friends from all these other spiritual traditions. You know, Lutheran, Catholic, Christian Catholic, charismatic Catholic. I didn't know you could do that. Like, that was against the law somewhere.
My mom's a charismatic.
Yeah, I know. They're wonderful, right? It's,
Why are you talking about my mom like that?
She's wonderful.
Okay.
So, right, Christian Missionary Alliance and Assembly of God and Evangelical Free, like, so this, and then friends of mine that had non-Christian parents, and they became Christians. And, you know, we'd hang out all the time, and then we'd goof off, and we were this nerdy group then that would end up in these theological conversations. And you just begin to listen to be able to go, wow, you and I might differ on something theologically, and yet you have a high view of Christ, you have a high view of Scripture, you have a high view of what Christ did on the cross, high view of the Trinity. Like, you checked all the major boxes, and then it's all these little things that we disagree on. And so I grew up in this, that part of my faith was like, well, let's agree to disagree and realize that we don't have all the answers. And then I'm just going to fast forward to where some of this stuff really began to chip away at my myopic thinking about the church, right? So, got to seminary, and I was in the National Guard at the time, and I had become a chaplain assistant, and I was working with a Catholic priest. And one of the things when you go out in your 2 weeks of annual training, you're 10 days in the field, and the thing is that every morning you get up early, but then every morning when you're in the field, you're always doing work until mid-afternoon. So, quite frankly, as a chaplain, unless there's an emergency, you're just getting in people's way. So Ray's, his name was Father Ray. We'd take the Jeep, and this is in Michigan, and we'd find different spots to park. And so, like, the first day that this happened is we drive up this ridge, and we park at the top of this ridge, and it's just this beautiful view of a deciduous forest in the middle of the hand of Michigan. And we drop down the windshield, and he puts his feet up, and he goes, and I'm like, so what are we doing? I'm like 23. What are we doing? It's like, we're listening. And I'm like, 4. What? And he goes, have you ever not just meditated? That's not a part of my tradition. We read the Bible, and then we work and get crap done, right? So, and so he's like, just sit. And I'm getting all fidgety, you know. I'm like, what? And he's like, okay. This is what I want you to do. For the next half an hour, all I want you to do is sit and listen for insects. How many insects can you identify? And if you get bored with insects, if you kind of reach your limit, shift to birds. How many different birds can you identify? Okay. So for a kid that like needs to be doing stuff, this was horrible. But I'm listening, and it took me about 15 minutes to just settle down enough to do it. But then for the last 15 minutes, I heard, and I still remember this, I heard about 11 or 12 different insects. And then I kind of like got to the point where I couldn't hear anymore. And then I heard, like half dozen or so different bird calls. And we get done, and he's like, so what did you hear? And I told him. And then he said this. Now think of it, Rick. How many people right now that are working, doing all their stuff with all their morning tasks, how many of them have heard the insects? How many of them have heard the different birds and paid attention? like, yeah, goose egg, right? And he says, so here's the deal, Rick. If they're not listening, if nobody's listening, then who's listening? God created this for his own pleasure. And what we got to do for the last half an hour was enjoy the pleasure of God. And right? I'm like, nobody's ever taught me this stuff. And so for the next 9 days, we would do all these different things in which he would have me listen to or experience something in nature that reflected the majesty, the ingenuity, the brilliance, or the beauty of who God was, that had nothing to do with Scripture, per se, and had everything to do with the world that the God of Scripture had made.
So this is sort of opening your eyes to the value of other traditions.
Different tradition.
And as a Dutch Reformed, would you necessarily look to a Catholic person for
Goodness,
help
no.
with your tradition?
Oh, gosh, no. No.
Okay.
We left those guys in the 1600s.
Yeah.
You know, cut them off, right?
No turning back.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right, so how did you get from that? So you didn't, had you already been to seminary, Dutch Reformed
I
Seminary?
was in the middle of seminary at that
Okay.
time. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did you ever consider doing a different tribe or stream, or were you were good with your stream?
No, I was good with my stream. I've always been on the edge of my stream, right? Like doesn't play well with others a little bit. But there's because of that sense of the kind of that combination of that experience that I had in high school, where I just left with a lot of theological ambiguity, and in that sense of got comfortable living with that ambiguity, right? Going like, oh, I don't know it all. And then part of my tradition that is very much like, as much as we can figure out, and even though there's the mystery of God that we can't figure out, that which we can figure out, we can figure out.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a pride in that. Like
we can master it.
And every tradition has this, right? Every tradition has its own pridefulness in this.
Yeah.
And that's my tradition's pridefulness. It's like we can figure out God as much as God can be figured out. And
that does seem like the weakness of the Reformed tradition.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. And so in that, there's a piece of it, there's a lack of humility. And if you actually said that to somebody, they'd be like, oh, no, of course not.
I understand the doctrine of humility, so therefore...
Exactly. So there's that part where I've always bumped up against that. Part of it's cultural, but part of it is that we are always looking for some level of theological certainty. The thing is, I always think there's a danger in and again, I wasn't able to articulate this for years, right? But this is one of the dangers in theological certainty. It's just another way in which we want to be like God, right? I mean, that was the temptation of the serpent to Adam and Eve, right? Oh, wait a minute, no, you can be like God.
Yeah.
Hey, we know the things of God. We're like God. It's just we just buy into that temptation.
How do you deal with the tension of being able to know God and know things about God without having 100% certainty about those things?
That's a great question.
If you could answer that in 30 seconds or less.
No. I will say this. It's one of the one I think that is if there is something that I've dealt with in my own life and I've dealt with in ministry, has been this desire for certainty, right? We want clarity. And I'll answer it two ways. One of the greatest lines I heard around clarity was from Mother Teresa. So, another Catholic.
So far, all you're doing is quoting Catholics.
Oh my gosh! Henry Nouwen is one of my favorite writers, which is another Catholic. Somebody had come to Mother Teresa, and he was volunteering for the year, and she asked him somewhere in the process, like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "I am lost in my life, and I am looking for certainty with God." And she said, "Stop it." He's like, "Why?" She says, "Don't ask for, or not certainty, clarity. I'm looking for clarity in my life. Looking looking for clarity in my life. And she said, stop it. Don't ask for clarity. Ask for faith. If you have clarity, you don't need faith. But faith allows you to see beyond that which you can see.
Which by definition means there's this element of not being able to fully know what it is because you can't see it.
Because you can't see it.
Yeah.
So, and this is where faith comes in. Now, so why is faith important in this? And it's this idea of, because this ultimately is about love.
Yeah.
And you can't prove love, right? You can't prove that you love somebody, and somebody can't prove they love you. All you can do is take a look at what they have said and their actions, and does that match? But you don't know if somebody's playing the long con, right? Maybe they don't love you. So we take that stuff on faith. There's a level of trust. When my wife says she loves me, I trust she loves me. I can see it.
Yeah.
The way she talks to me, what she does for me, how we interact, it's loving. But I trust that what all that is love.
Mm-hmm.
This is what God desires. God doesn't desire order. This will sound like heresy. So we always think, God desires order. If God just wanted order, he would have stopped with instinct. And then everything just would have run like clockwork. But he doesn't want order. He desires love. And with the introduction of love, you have to introduce the possibility of love being rejected, a la sin,